Hello all. I thought I'd do another quick follow-up video on this whole Ricky Jones business because I think it really sums up why the modern Tory party and even the right on Liberal Conservative is so obsolete in this day and age. They just don't understand what's going on. So I'm sure as you know now, Ricky Jones called for people's throats to be slit and has been cleared of any incitement to violence. It's completely insane. It is two-tier justice. Now there has been some pushback on that two-tier justice line, simply because some argue that, well, look, he was proven innocent by a jury of his peers. So case closed. But as many people have pointed out, I'm sure you've seen this already, the judge in the case is one of these social justice warrior judges. It's clear she was presenting a certain frame to view this in. More importantly, many people have pointed towards as well to the makeup of the jury themselves. That's not confirmed. We don't know who the jury are. They keep that very secretive. But the point is, it's in a part of the world, or England, which is more diverse than other areas. Many people are making the point that certain people are going to view people they would view as being on their side with a lot more leniency than they would someone that they don't like. Now, I think that's completely right, and I think people are right when they say we're going to see more of this, and that feeds into the two-tier justice system that's building. It's not just the actual state system itself, it's also, what's happening on the ground level, and this is what I was pointing to yesterday in my video. We have to understand the liberal frame through which modern people are almost indoctrinated into. I pointed to it in the BBC News piece. They present Ricky Jones as the sort of hero fighting the evil far right, and they use these buzzwords, word spells as I call them, to ensure you have the right, quote unquote, worldview. Now, this is why many people, I think correctly, are calling this out, and unfortunately are pointing towards a future where this is just going to happen more and more. People will start to judge others along political, racial and cultural lines, religious lines too, if they're not doing that already. And this is why the modern conservative, as well symbolised by Jacob Rees-Mogg in his tweet, does not understand what's going on in the country at all. This is why the Tories are utterly hopeless. This is why the Tories really should not see the light of day again. These people are complete sellouts, or even worse than that, they're sellouts without even understanding why they're selling out their own people. So Rees-Mogg states in reference to the Ricky Jones case, "This is self-evidently not an example of two-tier justice, as this councillor was cleared by a jury. Lucy Connolly," you may remember she was jailed for making a tweet, which was not even as bad as what Jones said, "offered a guilty plea, so did not have a jury trial, although she probably could have done had she pleaded not guilty." Now, on the surface, in a normal world, everything Rees-Mogg is saying there is true. But this just sums up how detached Tories like Rees-Mogg are. And you have to remember, Rees-Mogg is so detached, he still thinks, if you like, that liberalism, which is something he's trying to understand from his sort of conservative traditional background, is, if you like, the rational world. He's so detached, even that, he's not even involved in that because he's just an elite. So the point is, he just doesn't understand things on the ground level. And we can see this because the way he thinks about the system is as if the system is just. He says here, "It's self-evidently not an example of two-tier justice, as this councillor was cleared by a jury." As if the jury's not going to be biased. As if Britain isn't in the grip of mass liberal propaganda. And he's supposed to be a conservative, on the right wing of the Conservatives, with traditionalist conservative leanings. But he's completely and utterly detached from the reality of what this country is. Because to be honest, again, he's an elite. He doesn't live in it. He's a toff, really, isn't he? That's the reality of him. So he will play to the liberal system as if it's functioning in a world that he believes is still rooted on the traditional English ideal. He's aware of the corruption of his own nation, And when he makes the point about Lucy Connolly, offered a guilty plea, so did not have a jury trial. Well, again, this is just a massive stepping over of what happened to Lucy Connolly. The state went after her. They had her straight away. They were giving her all manner of advice in order to make sure that she gives a guilty plea and she'll be out by Christmas. She was the enemy of the state. It was very clear she was coerced into giving a guilty plea. And we know what was happening at the time anyway. The Starminator went hard on the protesters. And it meant that it meant to drive fear into people. It was clear Connolly felt she had no choice but to give a guilty plea. And she thought, look, I've never done anything like this before. It was a stupid thing to say in the heat of the moment. We can all agree. And like, I'll probably maybe have to do a month or two inside and then I'll move on. But they absolutely threw the book at her, which is again another case of how the system will go way harder on people that it views as outside of it. So again, the Mogg can't see this sums up why people have no faith in the mainline Conservatives anymore. They don't understand what's going on. They're not on our side. And when push comes to shove, they will always go with the leftist Liberals. Always. They are not on our team. The only way that they could have maybe won some of the public trust back is to go away for a bit. Have a complete moment of exposition. Think we just don't know what's happened. We've lost our soul here. But they haven't. They've hired a diversity hire in Kemi Badenoch. They have idiots like Jacob Rees-Mogg leading from the front who are supposed to be, making the counter case to liberalism. But all they really do is undermine the very case itself. We see this with Rees-Mogg as well. He's trying to get on YouTube now and talking about immigration as if we're supposed to forget that it's his party that basically have led to the decline of Britain, this enforced mass migration. So I thought it was just a little insight on how these people really are the worst of the worst, and we really should never trust these people again. Even when it's an open goal, they show that they can't understand it, that they're hostile to the interests of England, of Great Britain, and hostile to us. Deep down, these people are liberal sellouts, and we shouldn't forget it.